Good afternoon, Mr. Carter.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fairly well.
Okay. Well, we'll take fairly.
Yeah, you know, just trying to stay on top of everything.
Yes, sir. I understand. It's busy. We'll give it a minute longer, hoping everyone joins. I know everyone on their team was notified that it's Central Standard Time. This company's out of California, I do believe.
Yeah. I haven't been on a couple of calls with Kendra today. The cabinet secretary who was supposed to be here is rescheduling, so
Good afternoon, Ellie. How are you?
Afternoon. How are you guys?
doing well.
Awesome. Anytime you see a thumbs up, it's always good news.
Well, I sometimes do that and realize that it's not in the view of the camera.
It's like, oh, I'm good. You see me down here.
So, Scott, do you think Kendra can get away, or
That is, I'm checking on that now.
Oh, okay. Yes, sir. Well, thank you for joining us, everyone. We are waiting on one more member of our team here to see if she's going to be available. If not, we'll give it a few minutes, and if Mr. Carter is okay with it, we may begin.
Okay.
She said she will be joining momentarily.
Okay, wonderful.
I don't know whether you all know, but here in Central Arkansas, we've had a touch of winter weather, not as much as we had earlier. And
I heard it was a little bit more. I hear you're being nice. I heard it was a little bit more than a touch.
So it's just it's kind of we've all had to sort of adjust our schedules, both things that were planned for yesterday afternoon and for today. And so anyway, she is of course today her WebEx has chosen to reload. That isn't that how it always works?
Always.
Gotta love it.
Yeah, that's I think this I had a meeting yesterday which involved a lot of PDFs, and I think this was the first time, as I was trying to get them printed and in the mail to people, that my Adobe did not decide to reload everything while I was trying to get in the 15-minute window I had to get everything printed out.
Of course, of course.
So yeah, but anyway, here she is.
All right, wonderful. If everyone's ready, we will begin. My name's Casey Hook. I'm a senior buyer with our procurement division here at the City of Little Rock. And this is our negotiation meeting for event number 1555, the LITFest event liaison. I believe everyone is present. I act as sort of a silent observer to this negotiation meeting. If any questions need answering, I do have the bid event here open, and we shall begin.
Kendra, would you like to make some opening statements?
Sure. Thank you, Scott. I apologize for being a few minutes late. Thank you to Think Rubix, and congratulations on winning the bid. We're grateful for the partnership and looking forward to the work that you all will be able to do. Just to kind of open us up and get us started, LITFest is something the mayor announced last year in our State of the City. And we are really excited to bring a signature event to the city of Little Rock. We know that time is of the essence this year. We're a little bit behind the 8 ball, but really looking forward to the work that you all will be able to do to kind of be liaisons with us and for us to coordinate this event. This is what this bid was about, to really recruit sponsorships, help us identify the talent or the organization that will host the talent, things of that sort. So really just kind of being that middleman to coordinate and facilitate this event for us. We've kind of tampered down our expectations a little bit for this first LITFest, but we trust that it's in good hands with Think Rubix. And with that, I'll stop talking. And Scott, if you'll just get us started walking through the details, and we'll go from there. Thank you all.
Okay. Yes. Just let me pull up. So the thing with.
And Scott, while you pull that up, I apologize. I failed to even say who I was and who you were, and give Think Rubix an opportunity to introduce themselves. So let's do that while you pull that up.
Sure.
Allie and Nia, very good to see you. And I see TW, so I assume that's the fearless leader, Mr. Wilkerson. As you all know, Kendra Pruitt, I have the pleasure and honor of serving as Mayor Scott's chief of staff. And so really excited about this signature event. Scott Carter has been very instrumental in helping us move forward with this. And Scott is I call him our resident historian, but his official title is, Scott, you'll have to help me here, but it's the creative.
Public Affairs and Creative Economy Advisor.
Yeah, so all things kind of creative. He's our liaison with our, what's the board? The Arts Commission?
Our Arts and Culture Commission.
Thank you. And so all things related to, the arts and culture in our city, whether it's symphony to public art to whatever else in between, Scott assists us with that. So that's who we are. I'll turn it over to you all if you want to quickly tell us who you are.
It's that infamous, I think you're on mute. But I'm Allie Washington. I'm the marketing manager for Think Rubix.
Sounds like Nia's having some technical difficulties.
Yeah,
I was about to give her
I'm
a grand
unmuted now.
introduction.
Hi, I'm Sharnia McConnell, the project manager at Think Rubix. This is my first time using WebEx, so I appreciate the learning curve.
Great.
Thanks,
This is Tristan
Allie and Nia.
Wilkerson. I guess today I'm a fearless leader. How about that? I lead the firm here at Think Rubix, and I think we may have just been joined by another one of our colleagues and teammates, Derwin Larry. Derwin, is that you on the phone?
It is me. I'm sorry, I had some technical difficulties with WebEx as well.
Derwin is one of the newest members of the team. Has been with us for some time and has the deepest background in event planning, advanced logistics. So we're quite excited to have his addition on the team. It's going to help really bring this thing to some significant outcomes, I should say. So excited to have won the bid. Appreciate y'all's confidence and faith in our work.
Thank you, Tristan. Appreciate those comments. Very good to see you all. Derwin, really excited about your involvement as well. So with that, Scott, if you want to take it from here.
Certainly. Just kind of walking through, I guess the expectations and, we have identified, and I know that we will have many follow-up conversations and meetings. But at this point, we would like to do this in June, around the Juneteenth holiday weekend. And so certainly with some music, with some panels, our Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion will be a player as well. They are working on identifying some aspects of that. So be working with them. There are some venues around our historic 9th Street, which, and if I'm telling you something you already know, I apologize, but I also sometimes tend to assume everyone knows everything. The historic 9th Street in Little Rock was the hub of Little Rock's African American community for about 70, 80 years. And then through urban renewal, it was decimated, and there are some initiatives that have brought some venues back, and there's future plans for even more growth. And so that is sort of the area we have envisioned this initial LITFest being centered around, but not necessarily having to only take place there. Or I guess sort of what questions do you all have? Because I don't want to rehash things that don't need to be rehashed.
So Scott, are you how are you guys married to that date of Juneteenth? And how many people are you looking to capture for LITFest?
Kendra, I'll let you.
Sure, I'll step in here. Derwin, we are not married to it. That was kind of our original goal, just to keep capture some of the synergy surrounding Juneteenth. It's already happening in our city. There are several events and Mosaic Templars, and last year we just saw a huge crowd, and so we thought there may be a great opportunity to leverage that existing crowd for this particular event. And also, the mayor wants to host an equity and economic summit. And so that was going to be this spring, but we thought hosting that around Juneteenth, giving and kind of merging the two, where that summit might start on that Thursday with some of the panels, it could bleed into this Juneteenth weekend and create the entire LITFest. And so we were really trying to alleviate a little bit of work, if you will, by shooting for that Juneteenth, because there are some existing synergies already. And particularly since we're, a few months out, that may be easier, since we wouldn't have to do as much legwork with getting a crowd to come out and things of that sort. So not short answer, not completely married to it. If, after getting this negotiated, you guys putting your heads together, reaching out to the respective relationships you have, if you come back to us and say, hey, if we do it on this particular date, this is what it would look like. But if we pushed it back a few months, it would be this, and give us an opportunity to make that decision from there. I think that's feasible.
Okay, perfect.
And
Kendra, oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Carter. The second question that we had was how many community members or people are you looking to capture with the event? I want to make sure we got level set there.
That's right. I'm sorry I missed that question. Scott, was that outlined in the RFQ? I don't want to misstate it.
It was, and I am scrolling through the RFQ now and trying to
Casey,
find it.
Yeah.
Here it is. Well, that was what we said was 10,000
10,000, I believe.
Yeah, it was around 10,000 for this initial year.
Okay. Yeah. So, and Allie, to kind of give that a little more, add a little meat to the bones. I think that is total numbers for the entire weekend. And so not just for one particular concert or one particular panel, but total number of heads throughout from that Thursday to Sunday or whatever those dates are.
Great. And the equity conference, is it just a one day or are you looking to have it multiple days?
So originally the summit was going to be one day, but I think this is an opportunity for us to kick it off with a big panel, equity and economics type panel, but allow that to bleed into the other days with speakers or panels or roundtables or whatever it looks like. But I think that needs to be a component of the entire LITFest, kind of a, we talked about business and tech and things of that sort, and the equity piece fits into that.
Just to sort of elaborate on that a little bit more, sort of what I think had been envisioned is having the panels during the days and maybe some performances, but like on Friday, there may not be any performances, there may just be panels. And so, if like the equity panel kicked off Wednesday night with an event and then had panels during the day on Thursday and during the day on Friday, and so again, just something that could, add to the overall feeling. But, when we're not necessarily talking about music performances during the day on a Friday.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
So I
we
proffer
need-
a brief question? I'm sorry, Darren, I didn't mean to interject if you had
No,
another
go ahead,
line of
Tristan.
thought.
No, go ahead.
So I was going to ask about some of the other stakeholders who are supporting this. As I understand it, the Convention Bureau, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be leading this work. I just want to get a sense of roles and responsibilities and who all we'll be working with, and a little bit of clarity about what's being asked of us.
Great question, Tristan. And so as of right now, this is a function of the city. We will be identifying additional partners and we'll be asking Think Rubix to provide that list to us saying, hey, I think CVB should assist in this way as that coordinator and facilitator, identifying additional stakeholders for us to leverage. But this is a vision of Mayor Scott, and it's an initiative of the city. As of right now, we have had some conversations with the Little Rock Convention and Visitors Bureau, so they are teed up and ready to help, but they are not currently, they don't have a role officially as of yet.
And likewise, we have had some conversations with some of the venues along 9th Street. Our Convention Bureau actually controls venues, some other downtown venues, not in the 9th Street area, but the Mosaic Templars Cultural Center and our newest venue in the 9th Street area called The Hall. They've both expressed interest in hosting events. They're both available for performances and for panels, and they've expressed interest. And Kendra, I haven't talked to Dreamland Ballroom. Have you?
No, I've not.
But that's another venue along the historic 9th Street, and so and they also, speaking for the Hall and for Mosaic Templars, they have also expressed interest in not just being a venue, but in using their contacts, in helping to be of assistance to what is ultimately you all in from identifying talent and some other logistics standpoint. So not just being a turnkey roadhouse for this type of an event.
And Tristan, to add to that, related to your question, as I mentioned, you have the full support of the city as far as logistics, planning, things of that sort. So whether it's PD to public works to, you know, for road and traffic control and things of that sort. So all of any resources within the city, this is a city function. We can provide those types of logistics. Once we identify what a budget looks like, then that, and you know, you all recommend to us, CVB needs to be a part of this. Raising private funds, we've had some conversations, and so have some names to pass along to you guys to follow up on those as well. But after we have kind of a vision from you all, I think that's when we'll start pulling in those other partners. But it's strictly city right now as far as leading the charge. And one thing that I wanted to add from earlier, and I know this was in the RFQ, but wanted to share it in this conversation. This obviously needs to be reflective of Little Rock, and so we want a very diverse type of LITFest where we feature, you know, not only, you know, various speakers, but even the music needs to be diverse. We need to have I think hip hop is obviously the biggest genre of music and most popular, so we need to have that, but we also probably need a country or a pop or something, you know. And again, I would love for us to put together a package like a lot of festivals, and I know Allie's very familiar with this, where you have the headliners and real big name, and then the smaller names coming thereafter. I don't know that we'll be able to pull that together, but if at all possible, using local artists in addition to national artists, being able to do something really grand. And I know Derwin has relationships also across the country related to talent, and you know, has done this before and seen it happen. So I think Rubix is well suited to bring this to life for us. And I just wanted to add that piece to the conversation.
I appreciate that deeply. I think that's very helpful, and I certainly am grateful for your confidence in us.
If I, this is Scott, if I could just add a couple more. Our Parks Department has great experience with major event logistics, whether it's, you know, getting sites ready, even building small stages. And so, you know, from which I know is not necessarily something that you run into in every city. So I just wanted to say as well, in addition to, you know, our public works and our police departments, you know, we do have, our departments understand that things like this, you know, take effort, and so they will be, you know, ready to assist. And if they can't do something, they generally know who can, some entity that can do that. So issues that you may have run into in other cities, you should not run into in Little Rock. And obviously, if you do, that's what Kendra and I are here for, so that you don't.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Scott. Quick question. Have we placed any holds on any of these venues? I know you talked about the Hall and Mosaic Templars. Is there a soft hold placed on any of those venues around a Juneteenth date?
Yeah, Derwin, I believe so. I know that we've had conversations with Key and Mosaic Templars, and so she has been kind of knocking our doors down, trying to get some answers and responses as to, are we doing this? Are we not? And we told them that we, you know, RFQ, we would know something by the end of this month. So I believe there is a soft hold there. I have not had a conversation with the folks at the Hall, probably in the last month or two. But when I did speak to them, they were very willing, very interested. They had an opening, or that weekend open, and said that they would keep it open, but I don't know that it was officially held. So that's something we can circle back on. They were willing to, you know, be very, very helpful. So I think that should maybe be one of the first calls your team makes, just because that's what they do. They, host concerts all the time, and they were, bring in talent. They have, I'm not sure exactly who they use, but they were willing to use their space and leverage their relationships and the discounts they get with booking talent for free, really, is what they said. And so definitely want to make sure that still stands, and happy to make that connection. But as of right now, there should be a soft hold at Mosaic and possibly the Hall.
Okay, it'd be great if you can do a soft introduction. Thank you.
Will do.
So I have then just a couple of process questions for my knowledge, and I think Nia can round us out, and we can get locked in on whatever the budget is or budget constraints are. She can talk through our requirements gathering process and how we'll get really clear about the scope and start to lay out some of these plans. But with respect to process, am I to understand that we are contracting directly with the city and then reporting to who exactly in the city's office?
Scott.
Wonderful. Okay. Great. I think then that's helpful. We can, I think Nia get clear about next steps, get into the requirements gathering so that we can turn some things around. I think I'd be remiss if we didn't in the last 4 minutes discuss the budget and with respect to this particular contract agreement, knowing that we'll probably have to raise money from other sources to make the actual festival occur. But what are the constraints with respect to budget? What should we expect other fees available for the work?
Yes, thank you, Tristan. Quickly to answer Allie's question, yes, I think a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and maybe maybe launching Thursday afternoon with that kind of panel and something that afternoon, no music necessarily, but maybe getting us started Thursday afternoon through the weekend and ending maybe with a brunch something on Sunday, just so people can get out of town on Sunday afternoon is what we envision. But want to definitely leave that up to you creatives if you have a different suggestion based on what you're learning about, in the industry and what works best. Tristan, for your question, thank you for getting us there. What I believe is that we're looking at, is it 45,000? Scott is nodding, so thank you. 45,000 for the coordination. This work of getting us kind of a game plan, aligning and helping us with sponsorship, talent acquisition, all of those things in the scope. And I was trying to pull up the RFQ, but I know Scott has it and so does Casey, so they can speak to it in greater detail. But for this coordination work, 45, absolutely agree. It's going to take into the six figures to pull this off the way we expect it to be pulled off. And so that's where the sponsorships would come in. We didn't want to raise that money directly as with, at City Hall. That's just, it's a little more murky that way. But that sponsorship piece is what we would use to pull off, if you will, the event.
That's super helpful. I do have a fiduciary question to follow up that I don't know is needed in this space, so I may hold it for now. But that's helpful, and I appreciate the insight. So, Nia, next steps?
Yeah, well, I have a question for clarity as well as I imagine next steps. The coordination, I can understand that scope according to the RFQ that was put out. The question I have is the fundraising, is that a part of the coordination or is that separate?
Scott, I don't want to misspeak. Is that included? Because if it's not, then we don't need to tack that on. That would be unfair. But so, Scott, can you answer that? Is it part of that?
I'm trying to, I'm doing the same thing. I'm trying not to misspeak. I am trying to,
And I
it is not, I do not believe that it is directly a part of it. I think it was that you would coordinate with fundraising, but I do not believe that it is directly part of it. Let me, I reserve the right to follow up if I am incorrect.
Scott, will you I thought you tagged me in this on Asana a couple weeks ago, but I'm not seeing it there. Will you forward it to me or wherever you're looking at it?
Certainly.
But I thought that there was a coordination of sponsorships, not necessarily the full responsibility of fundraising directly, Nia, but assisting with and coordinating those sponsorships. We need to be part of that because we have a lot of the relationships. And so I need to be able to call, you know, my contact at Coca-Cola or my contact at Dillard's or, you know, whatever that corporate sponsor is. Me as in the mayor's office in general and help raise those funds actually. But I think it would be helpful for you all to coordinate the sponsorships in that identifying the levels, how much we need based on what you're seeing as far as the talent acquisition and what it's going to take to pull it off, things of that sort. So I think that's the fundraising falls on us, but helping us identify what we need to fundraise, coordinating what those amounts are, bringing some opportunities to the table that we may not have. I know you all may have some relationships that we don't. Things of that sort, I think would be helpful as far as that role goes.
You're raising some points here, and I do want to be respectful and mindful of time, but
No, please go ahead.
and we can bookmark this for additional dialogue. So it's not, there's no pressure to answer this now, but in part because our requirements gathering is going to help us get clear, crystal clear about the needs, the gaps, and to clarify the scope. But it sounds a little bit like some donor relationship work that will be done that we'll hold, as well as potential prospective fundraising. Obviously, the lion's share of it would be with the city, but it seems like some of the blocking and tackling that we may support with. So to that end, as I understand it, this is a negotiation. Should the scope become a bit more dense in terms of deliverables, what room is there for additional resources to ensure we can afford that time? Because y'all know Darwin is expensive. So
He is that and worth every penny. I'll be honest with you, Tristan. I think the if we go above 50 for within this contract, and Casey, please help me understand, that would trigger a need to go before the board. Unless it's a different contract, different, you know, to separate it from this particular contract, it would otherwise be an aggregate, which would trigger the need to go before the board of directors. Is that accurate? Our procurement professional? Okay. And so that is, that it becomes political at that point, and that would just be something that we would have to deal with there. I think it's possible to leverage some sponsorship dollars for additional work as necessary, because that wouldn't be city money and therefore wouldn't require that political step, if you will. But that's kind of me just keeping it as honest with you as I can. That would be the necessary steps that we'd have to take from a procurement standpoint. And I don't know that we want to go before the board on what they would maybe deem us throwing a party.
no, I understand. What you just shared is where my mind was going, is that there would other revenue streams could support the additional work. So we would, I think, Nia, need to bifurcate so that the work the city is paying for is very clear and it's clear cut, and then any additional tasks that will need to be covered would need to be resourced from other revenue streams. So that's exactly what I needed to hear, Kendra. I appreciate you.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I think yeah, that's exactly, I think the sort of the mindset we had as well. And Kendra, I did send you and Asana a message that had the RFQ. We do mention event sponsorship in the RFQ, but as far as sort of the level of detail that we're talking through right now, I don't think that it's probably spelled out as much, but I think our conversation now has hopefully clarified that.
Yeah, I did find it, Scott. Thank you. And it's mentioned, sponsorship is mentioned, I believe, 4 times in the RFQ. And so I think we're all on the same page as to what that coordination and assistance with sponsorship, not necessarily the actual fundraising that Nia was asking about. So I think we're good there. Casey, if you'll let us know, are there any other details that we need to hash out here on this call? And then what the next steps are for procurement to get a contract to Think Rubix to be signed?
We've hit on the correct points, especially about what you were just speaking about with sponsorship and whatnot. At this point, if there are further negotiations that need to happen, we'll allow that before contract management occurs. Obviously, this will have to go through legal. And if, as you suggested, if the payments are kept under $50,000, this obviously won't have to go through the board. But at this point, if a further negotiation stage needs to happen about budget, then that would probably need to occur long before contract management.
Okay. Go ahead, Nia. I think it looks like you're about to say something.
No, I was just gonna follow up with what those next steps look like on you guys' end to get the contract signed.
So if we're clear on the scope, you guys are coordinating with our external partners to promote, this event, to get it pulled together. I think the deliverables, we talked, the target population, all that stuff is kind of lined out. We look for, I think, initially some sort of plan for us to approve or not approve. And then we'll give you guys the go ahead on plan A or plan B, whatever it may be. I think that's how we'll proceed. And so with that, I think there's no further negotiation needed unless Think Rubix, you feel like there is.
I'll let Tristan answer that question. I just wanted to validate that is what it looks like on our end. Our first deliverable would be what we call requirements gathering or landscape analysis to make sure we're clear on what we're clear on the scope. And in that phase, which we'll be considering phase 1, we'll do some stakeholder engagement. We've mentioned some of the people who we need to reach out to already, so that's a good start. And finally, phase 1 will, render a comprehensive event plan. So I'm just affirming what Kendra laid out.
Perfect. Tristan?
Yeah, I maybe missed the question that was directed at me.
Is there any further negotiation needed? Or are we on the same page?
I think we are on the same page. I will share that the scope for this event coordination we'll aim to keep it within the event coordination items that you've outlined. To Nia's point, when we perform our requirements gathering, that is to do some research, and to figure out exactly what's needed, identifying gaps. From that requirement solicitation, we'll have clarity around the exact scope. And so what I'm committing to is to prevent scope creep. So any additional tasks or things needed would have to come out of the fundraising budget for the project. So I think for us, directly answering your question, is there a need for additional contract negotiation? I don't think so. I think we're fine with the number, but we do need the opportunity to clarify the scope. So long as that's considered, I think we're in good shape.
And Casey, I think you're pondering a little bit, but as far as for us to move forward to our legal team and get a contract pulled together based on the scope outlined in the RFQ, you're okay with that process, Tristan?
Based
Yeah,
on,
I think so.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, based on, I would like that contract or the scope to read exactly like what we submitted. I'm looking at the deliverables and how we outlined it. And I think that is what we're agreeing upon today.
Yeah, I think this is what needs to happen for us. And let me just sort of try to get to the meat of it. Casey, we're going to need to review the scope and the contract. I don't think we want to make sure we don't have any misalignment on the scope that goes into the contract. Is there a need for another negotiation? No. But we do want to review the scope before we sign, which I understand we'll have the opportunity to. And I say that because the RFQ, we weren't clear about a scope. We were clear about what you all were looking for in terms of qualification. But I don't think we were quite able to extract a finite scope. And so having a chance to review that in the contract should give us a chance to do that.
Perfect. And of
And
course,
if I'm so sorry, Kendra, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, absolutely, you will definitely get the contract before you have to sign it. So we'll definitely give you that opportunity to review and make any suggestions or revisions at that time. But Casey, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, ma'am. I agree that within the RFQ, there was an approach to services that did request a plan of deliverables and milestones and a summary about how they would be met. I agree that further, expanding upon the scope of work and being able to provide a more detailed deliverable would be part of this phase prior to contract management. So I'm on board with everything that's being said.
Perfect. So we'll proceed with using y'all's response to draft a contract. We'll get that to legal. Casey, if you'll get that to the city attorney's office, they'll assign it to an attorney, and please copy me and let them know that I've asked for it to be expedited. Scott, I'll ask you to really stay on top of whatever assigned attorney is on this particular one. I imagine it'll be Sherry or Kim. And we will get this back to you all as soon as possible, because we obviously don't expect you to start working until you get a contract signed and money in hand. And so we want to get that done pretty quickly so you can work through March to get us some sort of game plan.
And while we're all in here, Casey, I just wanted to be sure that the vendor and supplier information did get all up to date in the system, so we're good to go with getting payment to them once contracts are signed and everything.
I do currently have a supplier number. I will check right now to make sure Sophie gave them a vendor number.
Well, just I appreciate that. Like I said, if you need anything from them, we'll get it to them so they can get it back. So I just wanted to be sure that we keep everything up to date.
Let me just say once again, Think Rubix, I'm super excited about working with you all on this. I know we're in very capable hands with the various levels of expertise that we have, even just on this call, and then your expanded team. So excited about that. And thank you for your willingness to not only bid, but to make time for this call. I know you have a lot of things going on this week with celebrating, I believe, is it year 5? So congratulations on all that you all are doing related to your retreat and the growth of the company. I'm a huge fan of what you all do and looking forward to what you're going to deliver for us. So I appreciate it.
We appreciate you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Talk soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Scott. Thank you, Casey.
Thank y'all.